Okay. Hey, Happy New Year. In a couple of days, it's going to be 2012. I want to first say something about a 16-year-old from Tampa, Florida. His father and I are good friends, and he plays basketball at Wesley Chapel High School. His name is Marcus Haynes. He's 16 years old. And I was thinking about Marcus as I was thinking about the deep change that people want to make in the year 2012. This is the new year. Everybody always talking about New Year's resolutions. I remember when I was a prison chaplain, the watch commander called me in the morning asking me to bury 4 inmates. It was raining outside. It stopped raining. I said, "Well, officer, I'm not the on-duty chaplain right now." He says, "Well, Reverend, it's not raining right now. Can you just go and bury these guys early in the morning so we can get this out of the way?" So I get out of my bed. I put my clothes on. The prison had their own cemetery. And as I met the officer and 4 inmates who were assigned to dig the grave and place the pine caskets in the ground. So I met the officer at the cemetery. He had his rifle with him, and I was walking next to him, talking to him, and the 4 inmates were in front of me. So I left the officer and I kind of walked up towards the inmates. And I asked them, 2 of them were Hispanic, 2 of them were black. I said, "Did you know these guys who died?" And they said, "No, Reverend, all we know is that they died from AIDS." And I began to think about death and resurrection, the fact that their family weren't there, the fact that if you want to make some deep change, those of you who don't want to make behavioral change, because that's what we're talking about, those of you who don't want to make behavioral change, then that's okay. But those who want to make change in their life, we probably in the year 2012 are going to have to think more deeply about who we are and about our ancestors and connecting with our ancestors. When I talk about our ancestors, I'm talking about our mothers or fathers, those who have recently gone on in our lives. We're always burying people, and we're always thinking about our loved ones, but we're going to have to think more deeply about them because they too speak to us from the grave. The relationship between 2 living beings is obvious, but the relationship between a living person and a deceased person, that line, that connection is fuddled, is muddy. And if we don't start honoring our ancestors and start honoring the people who have inspired us and pushed us along the way, even if they were bad or good, even if those young people who have died at an early death, they too are deserving of our honor and reverence. We don't worship the dead, but we have to honor the dead. Again, if we want to make the deep changes in our personal lives, then we're going to have to start connecting with our ancestors in the year 2012.
Change.
As a result of that, burying those inmates, I began to think more deeply about behavioral change and deep change. And I even developed a prayer as a part of my dissertation. And I patched together different aspects of what a good prayer should be about. The first thing I said was, in Jesus' name, I want to bind every devil in hell and out of hell. I want to bind the demons of sleeplessness, nervousness, worry, and fear. Those demons track us all through our lives. And we can't make behavioral changes because we feel so much guilt. Things that people who have dead and gone on before have said to us. You're not going to be any good. You're going to be just like your mom. You're going to be just like your daddy. And so what do? We start drinking. You know, this is a Miller General Draft. And there are 2, we start drinking, or we start eating, or we start smoking. The house can be burning down. We got to have our last drink. We're just putting all this stress into our bodies because we are consumed with these demons of worriness and fear. And they keep tracking us all our lives. there are two holes in your body, the mouth and your behind, okay? And so when you're stressed out, you just have to put something in your mouth. You gotta have that cigarette. You gotta have that joint. You gotta have that beer. You can't go over none of your friends' house, those of you who drink and smoke, because all they want to do is just go get another beer and roll up another joint. That is stress. And what you have to do, that represents the fire in your life. And what you have to do, you have to balance that out. You have to spend some time. You ought to literally go out and start and spend time with people who have a lot of water in their life as opposed to fire. Everybody has fire in their life, but you got to have 3 times as much water in your life to give you balance. So those demons that hunt us in 2011 are going to hunt us again in 2012. So in Jesus' name, we say, stop this madness, stop this show, stop those demons, Lord, so that I can get some traction in life, and I can change my life, and I can improve my life, and I can become a better person. That's the deep change. Either you're going to choose deep change, or you're going to choose slow death. And many of us are just creeping towards slow death. And for those of you who want to experience deep change, you're going to have to think again more deeply about your life. Now, I mentioned Marcus Haynes. He plays basketball. Now, you take a golf club like this. I don't really play golf, but I go out there and hit sometimes. You take a golf club like this, you put it in my hand, ain't nothing going to happen. You take an ordinary golf club like this, you give it to somebody like Tiger Woods, he becomes a master. Alright? You take an ordinary basketball, you put it in the hands of Kobe Bryant or Magic Johnson, you're going to get one type of result. You take an ordinary basketball, ordinary, something that is ordinary, you put it into the hands of a Michael Jordan, and magical things start to happen. And so it is with you. That if you want to make deep change in your life, start with some basic things. And then you bless that, and then God will take that ordinary phenomenon, and you'll be able to transform your life. You don't have to move to another neighborhood. You don't have to change the church. You don't have to change your religion. All you have to do is get more respect for rituals in your life. One of the reasons why we probably got thrown into slavery so fast is because we lost the sense of our rituals in our life. The other thing in this prayer I put in here is, it says, "Oh Lord, let your mighty power flow now unto us. Let us be made completely whole. Let your strength and power completely flood our entire being." You got to ask God to do these things because you're running on E. You don't have any juice. So you got to ask the person who got the juice to give you what you don't have. So first of all, you bind the demons. You pull down that old crazy show, that crazy act, the scenes that you go through, the routines you go through in your life. You ask those demons to kind of hit the road. Then you ask God to make you whole again. You're asking God to give you what you cannot get on your own. Okay? The third part was, the other part I put in this prayer is that you got to start renouncing things. You know how you announce things? You announce that you're going to a party. You announce that you're going to get married. You announce that you're going to be engaged. You even announce when you're going to kick somebody's you know what. But now we've got to, in 2012, we have to renounce things. We have to take things back. That letter that we didn't write, that we should have wrote. That word that we did not give, that encouraging word that we could have given to somebody, but we didn't give it to somebody. What does this have to do with deep change? It has everything to do with deep change. Because unless we think more deeply about our lives, this next year is going to be the same old 2011. And we have a lot of things on our plate. We have to create our bodies. We have to recreate our relationships. We have to reconnect with our ancestors. We have to reconnect with our families, because that's the basis of growth. And as I began to study myself, that yourself, you are connected with your family in a very unique way. And Jesus always prayed not only for the disciples, he prayed for their families. So not only should you pray for yourself, but pray for your family. Because if you don't, your ancestors are going to speak from the grave. And some of the things that they're going to be telling you, you're not going to want to hear. So I guess that's my New Year's message. I want to say more about Martin Luther King, because here's a brother who gave up his life at the age of 39. He had fire. And the fire represents our connection with the spiritual world. Fire represents our connection with our ancestors. And I am convinced that in 2012, I'm going to spend a little bit more time honoring my ancestors. So, Happy New Year and Godspeed.